Hello cherubs, I hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome or welcome back to Trapped by Love. My name is Emma Carrington, and if you're interested in true crime and justice, you are in the right place. So I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button because we'd love to have you join us. By way of disclaimer, we discuss true crime cases involving domestic abuse and domestic homicide on this channel. So if this is not the kind of content you are looking for, I completely understand. Thanks for stopping by. Today I was supposed to be recording a new case for you precious people, but I had a comment on my last episode asking if I'd share my opinion on pregnancy, abortion, and babies in regards to domestic abuse. Now, I'll be honest, I debated it for many reasons. One being that I'm already fighting an uphill battle to get my content out there because YouTube isn't a big fan of the words I use while covering these cases. Words like abuse, sexual abuse, or rape, the words that other creators have censored in their content. I can't bring myself to censor my telling of these cases because these things are happening. This is real life, and I believe what I'm doing here is important. And that is bringing awareness that these aren't just true crime stories, but the fact that these are the realities of domestic abuse, and the hope that I can spread some kind of education and understanding around domestic violence. That's the reason that I started this channel in the first place. So when I focused that lens on this topic, I had to respond. Now, I want to be clear, this is not a political stance because I don't believe it's a political issue, or at least it shouldn't be. It's a personal issue. My aim here is not to argue one side or the other. I'm a woman of faith, and I would no sooner force my religious beliefs on someone as to try to sway their thoughts on the whole pro-choice, pro-life debate. I'm going to respond personally from my perspective and as requested in relation to domestic abuse. Your view may differ from mine, and the reason for that is everyone who has an opinion on this subject is coming at it from their own perspective and with their own life experiences. That's how we all approach everything we come across in life. So, here goes. I have never had to face the agonizing choice of whether or not to keep a baby. And to be honest, I don't know if I ever could make that choice. But I've known people who have, and I can't judge them because they've been in this position for many different reasons. And no matter what the reasons were, the decision to terminate a pregnancy was never an easy one. I met my ex-husband when I was 36. I knew our relationship was not a good one, and I tried to get out of it a number of times. But as these things go, that's often easier said than done. I really didn't think I could have children. So when he started trying to convince me that I wanted a child, it was kind of a nice dream. But that dream also came with a tinge of sadness. It was an idea he didn't let go of, though. So I thought, sure, we'll give it a go. Now, as many of you may know, if you've watched my previous videos, I have bipolar 2. And to help regulate that, I'm on medications. One of those medications can cause birth defects. So I had to make a conscious decision to wean off those medications and then stop my birth control in order to give it a go. Anyway, it was like there was a little love just waiting for that to happen because I fell pregnant in the first month and I knew it before I was even late. From that moment on, I knew I wanted this baby. Despite the fact that my relationship wasn't the best, and even though I'd been all but talked into trying for her, I wanted her. In the 9 months I was pregnant, I left my husband at least twice. On one of those occasions, I had no fuel in my car and no credit on my phone. My mum had said the day before that she would call me at 10 a.m. And my husband got in the shower at 10 to 10. 1 minute later, I picked up my handbag and holding my phone in my hand, I walked my 7-month pregnant butt out into the summer heat. I headed down the road towards my mum's house, which was 13 kilometers away, just praying that she would call when she said she would, and looking over my shoulder in fear every 10 seconds. My mum did call. And even though she drives like a grandma, my mum got to me before he did. And she took me back to her place, where he finally tracked me down. He apologized for the 2-day argument about nothing and convinced me to go home with him, which broke my mum's heart. But he said it would never happen again. Needless to say, it did, ad nauseum. I have to add here that this all happened while I was living at my dad's house. My dad was in the main house, so we weren't exactly living together, and he was away a lot, but you would think that I would have had a sense of security, that I'd have kind of the upper hand, or at least equality because of that, or that I'd feel like I had somewhere to turn. But instead, it just seemed to make it worse. And as stupid as it sounds, I didn't even know what it was. Fortunately, because of my bipolar and the wonderful depressive qualities that come along with it, I was set up with a perinatal counsellor. This is where my story differs from so many others. I live in a country where I was able to access a free counsellor for the majority of my pregnancy and for the first year of my daughter's life. In fact, it was my counsellor who explained to me what it was. He said one day, as I cried to him yet again, "Amanda, you do realize your marriage is abusive." I didn't. I didn't know. And in that moment, I really didn't believe him. As I sat there rocking my new baby in her capsule, I couldn't comprehend it. Slowly, over time, I could see it affecting my sweet little girl. I wasn't being the best mum I could be for her because I was too busy trying to keep him happy, trying to keep the peace. I tried leaving in the first 6 months of her life more times than I can recall. He said if I took the baby, it would be kidnapping. And when I told my counsellor this, he said, "You know, that's not true, right?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." But I didn't know that. And even when my counsellor told me it wasn't true, I didn't believe him. I didn't believe anyone but the voice in my head, my husband's voice in my head. I finally left for good when my daughter was 7 months old, after another day-night match of an argument that went on for hours. I knew I had to get out. He started work around midnight, so I texted my mum to please leave her phone on. When he left for work, in the car he'd just bought for me, I called her and asked her to please drive the 2.5 hours to come and get us. Over the next few hours, as my baby slept, I packed the essentials. I raced around with my heart in my throat and panicked any time I heard a car. My mum arrived at 6 a.m. and we loaded up and fled. I left a note and spent the rest of the day on edge waiting for him to get home and realize we were gone. You may be wondering what all this has to do with abortion. I mean, I didn't even consider it, barring medical issues, so what's this about? This is about the fact that coercive control and manipulation is at the core of domestic abuse situations. My husband thought that if we had a baby, he would have more control over me. He really never thought I'd leave, and after I did, he told me as much. However, because of the country I live in, my baby saved me. I doubt I would have ever left for myself. By this point, I didn't believe I deserved any better, but I knew my little girl did. I did not want her growing up thinking that was normal or believing that was how she should be treated. I am lucky. I was able to leave because I live in a country where we are able to access free healthcare, where the government does help support single parents. I also had parents who were there to help and support me. I was also able to access free counselling and group therapies to help me heal, and the government support has meant I've been blessed to be at home with my little girl while I study to give us both a better life. Even though my little one saved me, in a different place with a different set of circumstances, having a child with an abusive partner could trap a woman, or it could mean that she is homeless with a child because she can't afford adequate childcare, so she's not able to work. She may run the risk of losing her child to social services, or else it could mean working 3 jobs and still struggling to make ends meet. All this is assuming that this child was conceived out of love or whatever passes for it in an abusive relationship. My marriage was fortunately nowhere near as violent as many of the cases I cover on this channel, all the stories I've heard from others in my support groups. I cannot fathom being forced to keep a child from some of those circumstances, or even to spend the 9 months living with the reminder growing inside me, only to send them out into the world knowing there's always a chance that that trauma will knock on my door one day wanting to meet me. Or, like in my case, bringing that tiny bundle home into a life you already want to escape, knowing full well that you're all but powerless to protect them. The point is, every situation is different, and I don't feel anyone should have to disclose the ins and outs of their own situation to see if they meet the requirements that someone else has put in place for their life. We as a society can't get respect in relationships right. The statistics of intimate partner homicide show that. We as a society can't or don't look after the most vulnerable people we have living among us, the children in the foster care system, and the statistics of homelessness show that. These issues are some of the biggest ones that feed into the issue of abortion. I wish the people in power would try starting at the root of a problem. This is not a black and white matter, and making it one doesn't help anyone. I think if more people discuss the shade of grey that they're coming from, we might just realise that we're more closely aligned than we thought. This decision that has been made doesn't directly affect me today. Not today. But as the mother of a little girl, it does strike fear in me for everyone, and not just women. That is all I have for you today. Sorry for the tears. If you're still with me, thank you for listening. If this content has raised any concerns for you regarding your own relationship or that of a loved one, please reach out for help. There's a list of resources in the show notes and the description box below. I thank you again for joining me this week, and until next time, please take care of yourselves and be kind to one another. Bye.